Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 117 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm Thomas Orwatt Jr., and today is March 6, 2025. In this episode, Phil X, guitarist for Bon Jovi, is my special guest. During this interview, Phil talks about his new record by his solo band, Phil X and the Drills, entitled Pow, Right in the Kisser, which will be released on March 28th on Frontiers Music. Also in this feature, we discussed Phil's experiences in Bon Jovi, which he joined in 2013 and became a permanent member in 2016. In addition, we talk about his time in the iconic Canadian hard rock band Triumph, which he joined in 1991 and performed on the band's final studio record, Edge of Excess, which was released in 1992. So let's get started. Here is Phil X. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Interview Series, and look who we have here today. Bon Jovi guitarist Phil X is here with us on the Rock Interview Series, and we're going to talk about his amazing career. But before we get into that, we want to talk about an even more amazing record that's coming out on March 28th.
Thanks, man.
Phil and the Drills, Pow, Right in the Kisser. And what an appropriate title for this, like mind-blowing, aggressive rock and roll that we've all been just like waiting to hear from you. Finally, it's out
Man.
after all these years.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
That's a great intro. Thank you.
Well, now it's all up to you, man.
No,
You
man,
take it from here.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about the record. It did take a long time to make, but it's because life happens. You know, the first song was recorded in 2014 with Brian Tishy on drums. It was called You Sunk My Battleship. And the last song was recorded in October 2024 with Tosh Peterson, the new kid on the block, who's just tearing up the drum world. And everything in between. You know, I was just lucky to work with so many drummers on other people's projects. So
Right.
you kind of get this pal vibe. Now your pals making music, and there's a camaraderie and the chemistry that happens and stuff like that. And then before you know it, you're hanging out and then asking them to play on your record. And I've just been fortunate. I guess everybody likes me. I guess I have that thing that I just feel fortunate. Like I said, just really blessed. All these drummers that I've worked with, I keep saying, like Kenny and Aronoff and I have worked on so many records I've lost count together. And then obviously Tico, we were on the road and had a day off in Vegas, and I asked him to play on the record, and he said yes. And then I was in New York and talking to Liberty DeVito, and I'm like, hey, I'm in town playing two sold out nights at Madison Square Garden. Can we go to like the power station and record drums on a song? And he's like, yeah, I'm in. So it was just all stories like that. Tommy, I worked on all Tommy Lee solo records. So me getting him to play on my record was really special. But also, it was very strategic. I wanted to pitch a tune that he could really show his thing,
Yeah, that's the latest single, Fake the Day Away, features Tommy Lee on drums. And
Yeah.
that's a great song. Can you tell me a little bit about how that song come about?
It's funny. Like the first line in that song is, "I woke up to the captain's voice in a pimped up flying machine," which is my poetic way of saying I was on the jet on tour with Bon Jovi, and the captain's like, "Hey, we're coming in for a landing or something," and I just woke up and I was like, but it was funny sometimes, when you wake up and you're groggy and forget where you are. And I looked across the aisle and it was like John. I'm like, hey, it's John Bon Jovi. Oh, right. We're on tour. It was kind of like that. But I mean, the song is about missing my family. No matter what's happening and how great it's going and what you get to do on a nightly basis, I was really missing my wife and kids at that moment. So the song is basically about that, a tragic hero in dismay. That was my poetic way of saying, man, I'm kind of just sad. So obviously you have to rise to the occasion and jump on that stage again, so you get yourself in the right mindset. But in that particular moment, it was just missing my people.
Yeah. Another song that has been released already from the record is called Moving to California. There's a pretty interesting story behind that song as well.
Yeah, that was life, man. That was like, I mean, what kid anywhere in the world hasn't thought of moving to California to be in a rock band? If they're a musician, I was a musician. I thought I had exhausted my options in Canada at the time, in Toronto. And in 97, I moved to LA. Now, you always have expectations of grandeur and feel like something's going to happen overnight, which is never the case. But you have your nest egg and you're like, okay, so we can just make music for a while. Well, that while shortens really quick because you run out of money and you have to work 2 or 3 jobs to pay the rent. So I went through all this, but I love the line, I know someone who knows someone who knows some people, because it's true. You kind of know someone, but it's who they know that could help you. And then I found out that no matter who you know, they're worried about their own career more than anything else, so they're not really going to help. So there's also another line that says, "I have a reservation for a hardwood floor," which floor rhymed with the prior lyric. It was a futon, I think. But I mean, when you have aspirations to rock the world, I feel like you would do anything.
Mm.
And me and my first wife, when we moved to LA, we had a band, but we didn't have a band. We had a record with a band that we did in Canada. And when we moved to LA, we didn't want to be responsible for a bass player and a drummer. So we'll get them when we get down there. And we booked a show at the Roxy without a band. And then put the band together really quickly and went and did the show. So, I mean, you need that drive. So I've always had that drive. So I think that was a big part of it. Yeah.
Do you really think that moving out to LA though did play I mean, in retrospect, do you think you still could have been where you are right now, staying in the Toronto area?
No,
No.
absolutely not. I mean, with the internet, when people tell me, like I do a lot of master classes and I do clinics and I do a lot of speaking at schools and stuff like that. And if the question is, should I move to LA or should I move to Nashville or should I move to a bigger city that's got a better music scene? Because there's no music scene here. And the answer to that is quite simple if you put your mind to it. I think if you have a band and everybody lives where you live, you can do that anywhere. You can gig, you can book gigs or within 250, 300 miles, and you can book gigs and you can play, and it's about who's seeing you. And then you get those videos online and they can see you all over the world. And if you're doing something special, you'll get more views. If you don't have a band and you need to move somewhere else, move somewhere else. But moving a whole band, you don't want to move a whole band. That's 4 guys that will starve, or girls. I mean, it's a tough scene, man, moving a whole band. But if like you can almost be anywhere because of the internet. It's a YouTube world. It's you can make music and put it on Spotify. You can make music and put it on Apple Music. You can make music and do anything online. So until you've done everything you possibly can living where you have, which I doubt you have, then stay there and just do it. Just do what you can. It's all about video and being exposed to the right audience.
Yeah, it's so different now. It's really changed so much,
It really
since I mean, it's like unbelievable. If you look at a lot of other industries, I don't think there's anything I could think of. There's been so much change in like the last 30 years than the music world, you know?
I think you just nailed it. I'd say, it's funny because I talk to people that are up, the status of the people I work with is high. So talking to those guys about how they feel it's what changed, it's changed so much for on any level, whether you're
Yeah.
starting out or whether you've been doing it for 40 years, it's changed a lot. So and they're trying to stay relevant. And I'm happy to be working for a guy who's been able to stay relevant for 40 years. So I'm seeing how he does it. It's awesome.
Well, I'm sure that, since you've been playing with him since 2013, there's got to been a lot of lessons that you learned from, working with someone of his
For sure.
stature.
John, especially his work ethic is it's crazy. He gets things done, and he writes and all the time. It's always songs. People are like, I was talking to somebody the other day. It was another band actually, and they were like, we just found a box of 500 songs that we haven't released. And it's like, well, obviously you pick the best ones, but there's got to be something in there that's amazing that you overlooked. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah, yeah.
keep writing, and that's what I do. The hardest thing about writing for the drills is like I'm a guitar player and play my whole life. Riffs, melodies, all that stuff is a piece of cake. Writing a lyric that's a drill's lyric is hard
Yeah.
because it's so tongue in cheek and interpretive, and there's so many words to describe it. But that's what it is, man. And
Yeah, that's
people
what I was gonna say. Your lyrics are very clever. I mean,
thank you.
you spent some time on, making it make sense and with a
Well,
little bit of like,
sometimes it comes out easy, and sometimes it doesn't. But I love in the beginning when I was doing stuff like this, and somebody came up to me and they said, "Hey, so what were you thinking when you wrote that lyric?" And I always say, "What do you think I was thinking?" And because it's that interpretation, they tell me, and I'm like, "Wow, that's even cooler than what I was thinking." So that opens up a whole scope of stuff. So I love that. But
Mhm.
I'm glad you noticed.
Oh, definitely. How could you not notice? Yeah. Another song I want to talk about is "Don't Wake Up Dead." That was a single that you released last year, actually.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that particular song. That's another great track.
thanks,
Eh,
man. It's funny that one came together really quickly because I feel like it's everybody wakes up in the morning, and if you're ready to conquer the day, good for you. If you're not, if you wake up and you're just going through the motions and you're going to the job that you hate and can't see the light at the bright side of anything, or realize that it could be worse, I feel like you're waking up dead. And that's what that song is about. I feel like, and the lyrics kind of portray it and kind of don't. It's, again, it's the interpretive thing. Um, there's, I was literally driving around somewhere in California, and I went, oh, no, 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 no. I literally saying, people talk about the light at the end. And I'm like, I think that's a song. So I recorded it in my phone, got home later that day. I finished the whole song. And then when I was thinking about who's going to drum on this, I thought of Ray. I thought he would be perfect for that song. So Ray Luzier's on that track. That was the one song that happened really fast. Other songs didn't happen so fast. It took a really long time to really fine tune what I was trying to say musically and lyrically.
Do you find that you have like songs going through your head like all the time? And if so, is it easy to turn that off and on?
Um, it's I think what happens is you could have songs going through your head, and then at that moment you think it's amazing, and then because you're vibing on it, and then I record everything into my phone, and then I'll listen to it later, and either there's something there or there isn't something there, and it was just that moment. Um, what's really cool for me is there's a song called "We Bring the Rock and Roll" on on the record of the same name, and that song was done except for a bridge. And I was like, I was stumped. I couldn't come up with a bridge. So I went to the phone and started scrolling ideas and listened to a couple of cool ideas. And then something said bridge. And I'm like, hmm. It was like idea 87. And oh my God, that's the bridge. So I had to change the key and the tempo and and squeezed it in there, and it worked amazing. So that's why I record everything, kids. Put it in your phone.
I mean, you all have it. I mean, it's better than back in the day when you didn't always walk around with a recorder. Now you at least have that option, you know? So that's a
I
good thing.
found it. I was cleaning out a box and I found a little cassette. Oh, it's this big and it takes a full size cassette and has a microphone. And I'm an idiot because I put it aside thinking I got to get batteries. I got to see what's on that cassette. But I haven't got around to it. But isn't that funny? A cassette
Yeah.
player that with a microphone on it. Crazy.
Yeah, those were the days. I remember them very well. I want to ask you, as far as like playing out, are you planning? Do you have anything planned right now to go out on tour? Are there any plans? Are you working on that, or are you
I'm
waiting for
working
like?
on. I'm working on. I'm actually waiting for the Bon Jovi schedule so I can plug the holes with some drill stuff. Um, Last year we got to do some cool stuff. We opened up for Motley Crue at Summerfest in Illinois in August, and that was invigorating. It was so awesome. Like it took a lot of moving parts to make it happen. But when it happened, I know I was walking on stage like, wow, man, when's the last time I fronted the band? Thinking it was kind of, and this is an audience. It's 10,000 people that are just waiting to hear Motley Crue. Probably most of them never heard of us. So, and that was me getting in my way. And I'm like, Phil, you got to get out of my way. Because if I got a guitar in my hands and a mic in my face, I know what I'm doing. So before you knew it, I had 10,000 people singing, I wish my beer was as cold as your heart. That's an amazing feeling right there. And then I look to my right and I see Tommy Lee and John Five going, dude, killer. You can't even wish for a better cheering section than that. It was pretty amazing.
Do you find something like that a little more challenging, as opposed to playing with Bon Jovi in front of like 40,000 people?
Well, I mean, you know what it is. One is the supportive role, and one is the you're taking the lead role. So when I'm taking the lead and it's my lyric and my narrative and my jokes in between songs and playing guitar the way I want to play and singing the way I like to sing, I'm just doing me. It's 100% Phil X. And if it's the supportive role, I got to dial that percent back, like way back sometimes, because you don't, it's John's thing. So I'm doing the thing. I'm singing my parts. I'm playing my parts. And he goes, hey, let's everybody go nuts. I'll go change my shirt. You guys all go nuts and keep the faith. I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna do my thing. And if it's 82,000 people at Wembley Stadium, awesome.
Yeah, that's a fine line kind of because I've seen some like artists go out and like, some of the guys that, like I don't want to name any names and embarrass anybody, but some of the like, musicians in the band sometimes take it a little bit too far and it's kind of very cringeworthy, to see that. It's almost like they have this like they're desperate for some attention or the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen that too. I mean, it's about knowing your place. I
Yeah.
feel privileged to be able to paint on two different canvases. I got the Drills canvas and the Bon Jovi canvas. And even when I was a studio guy, I was a chameleon because if I was doing sessions on a regular basis, like in the mid, 2000s, uh, one day it could be Avril Lavigne, and then the next day it's Alice Cooper. You don't play the same guitar on those two records. So I was like, I would do what the song served here. I would do what the song served here. And it's the same thing when I record my own songs. I want to serve the song. So most solos that I've played on this new record I want them to suit the song. I wanted that, okay, this got to be an extension of the song. And I just do my thing. And sometimes I would just play a couple of takes and that's good and that's good. That's just stay along those lines. And then there's a song like Way Gone, where that needed the crazy acrobatic solo, and that I was there to do that. And it's the same thing when I recorded with John on the last few records of Bon Jovi, the last one, Forever. I think there's great guitar on that record,
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, there
and
is.
playing what you want it to be. And that record I really love recording because John had this whole thing. Okay, we're not recording drums in one city and then guitars in LA and then vocals in New York. We're doing it under one roof like Slippery. We're just not leaving until it's done. And I really admired that. It was really cool being in Nashville for 5 weeks recording that record. But some parts went super fast and some parts went kind of slow. And if I was singing backgrounds, I go, I got a different background part. I think that's the wrong note. And John's like, what are you hearing? And then I would do it, and he goes, good, that's it. Let's get three of those. And really, sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
you forget the capacity that you're in. And then other times I would lay down a solo and it would take a long time to really capture what we're all feeling. And other times it would be like done. So if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I really love that solo in People's House, I'm like, I don't remember how that went. So I listened to it on the sidewalk and, oh, that's a great solo. I did that. You kind of forget what you've done. So, I mean, making music for me is always, always, always a passionate thing. And serving a song, because I know the vocal is king, and I know it's always about complementing the vocal. And if there's a solo section, you don't want to stray too far from what's going on in the grand scheme.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the songs that I really like on the most recent Bon Jovi record, his record Forever, is the song Living Proof, which
Yeah,
is a song where you're playing the talk box on there, which
yeah,
is kind of, reminiscent to like, the classic Bon Jovi
yep.
stuff. How did that come about? Whose idea was it for you to do the talk box?
Well, it's funny. Obviously, I've been using the talk box with Bon Jovi for "Living on a Prayer." It's my life.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
But in 1990, I was touring with Aldo Nova, who was supporting Blood on the Bricks. That was on John Bon Jovi's record label,
Right.
Jamco. And Aldo had a song called uh, Monkey on Your Back. And that had talkbox in it. That was the first time I played talkbox. And he also there was a song called This Ain't Love, I think. I forget. There was a song on that record that also had talkbox. So I used talkbox then. And it was funny because Aldo came up to me. He's like, "You're doing it wrong. Your your mouth is the chamber. Whatever you shape, that's what it's gonna sound like." And I was like, "Okay, dude, chill out." And then, okay, that's it. That's how you do it. So I actually had a lesson in 1991 on how to do the talk box. So yeah, but I mean, I think Shanks and John Shanks and John Bon Jovi wrote that song, Living Proof. And I think they had, let's get a rocker going. And it came out great. And then when we were doing guitars, I think Shanks's idea was to, hey, let's put a talk box on this. Phil, let's get a talk box on this. And then I did the talk box. And
Yeah.
then
I
the
mean,
solo came together really nicely too, because it was like something that I've been doing for years, but never did on a Bon Jovi record, which was called Bouzouki tuning, where you tune both the high E string and the B string to B. They're both the same pitch, and you slide them into the same nut notch on the nut, and you get this metallic rub. And then I just came up with this theme, and they both like, oh shit, that's awesome. So that was the last thing we recorded for that record.
yeah, it's really a great record, and I'm kind of surprised, and it must be a little disappointing that it didn't do a little better than it should have. It really is a really solid record.
It's a weird time.
I know, isn't it? I mean,
It
who
really
would have?
is a weird time. It's a weird time. Like people are putting out records, and the it's to me, knowing what rock was, it feels like rock isn't what it used to be. And I'm not talking about the music. There's great music out there, but I think
Yeah.
the audience has changed a lot. Like my 11-year-old son doesn't even like rock. I took him to Tyler the Creator
Oh
like
wow.
2 weeks ago. He loves Kendrick Lamar and The Weeknd and Billie Eilish and Post Malone. That's who he loves, and he's 11. And I mean, maybe he'll come around to the rock thing at some point. But I let him be who he is, man. We get in the car, I let him DJ. He's turned me on to some really cool music. But the rock and roll audience isn't, I don't know. It's hard to describe. I think there are some songs on that record that I think are amazing, and I feel like I'm really happy with how my record came out. But it's hard to predict, the audience. It's hard to predict what they're going to latch onto. So it's, what goes to number one is hard to pinpoint sometimes.
Yeah. Now you mentioned earlier that Bon Jovi is planning on doing a tour in 2000 this year, 2025,
Well,
or
there's some plans. I
right?
can't really jump gun the announcement.
I understand that. I get it. Let me ask you this question. If you were offered the opportunity of opening for Bon Jovi and playing the Bon Jovi set, would you do that with Phil X and the Drills? Do you think you would be up to that or
I wish I could. Like a lot of people have asked, why don't the Drills open for Bon Jovi? I couldn't sing, even an opening set. I couldn't sing drill songs for 35 minutes and then be able to sing what I have to sing with Bon Jovi, including The Wanted. Wanted Dead or Alive. I wouldn't have the clear voice to do that because I sing really aggressively with the drills, and it's a very
yeah.
demanding vocal thing. So that's the truth. I would never chicken out of opening up for anyone, but I just couldn't manage both duties.
That's a hard ask. That the Bon, I mean, you wouldn't want to sacrifice anything in the Bon Jovi gig, and
Right, of course.
yeah, yeah. Okay, we're getting almost out of time here, but I really want to ask you a question about one of my favorite bands, Triumph, and you played on the very last Triumph studio record, The
Yeah.
Edge of Excess, which was released in 1992. It was the final Triumph studio record, an amazing record, released in
Well,
1992, which was the worst time to release a good record for rock. Of course,
yeah,
we all know what was happening then. But
yeah.
what was that experience like for you? Was that a pretty positive experience overall?
It was really amazing. I still talk to Gil every month, and I just spoke to Mike Levine last week. I think it's it was a weird time for them because replacing someone like Rick Emmett in the band like Triumph when it's just three guys. That everybody was like, "What's going to happen? What's going to happen?" No matter who stepped into those shoes. And that was the first time I learned that I had to dial back what I do because I'd lay down a solo in a song, and hey Mike, can you come and listen to the solo? And he came in and he was like, "Well, that's a great solo, but it really doesn't sound like Triumph." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I need to dial Phil back a little bit." And that's and realizing that really helped me with the Bon Jovi gig. I'll tell you that. But you know what? It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about the business, and what happened with that record was the business became the business. The label Victory with Triumph, you would think success, right? With those two names,
Right,
but
yeah.
with Triumph was like, hey, you guys promised this, and Victory was like, hey, you promised that, and somebody's like, hey, well, if you don't do that, we're out. Okay, you're out, and then the deal dissolved.
Really?
So it was a shame. But you're right. I even knew when I was touring with Aldo Nova in '91 when or 90 or 91 when I was in my like a hotel room and I was watching MTV and saw Man in the Box by Alice in Chains, and I was thinking, wow, we're done. This is over. This is the new shit. And I knew that. I realized that out of the gate. And anybody that could maintain some kind of career where they had to like, kind of change what they were doing a little bit. But it was tough, man. It was hard for anybody to compete with that, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Stone Temple Pilots. Come on, like nobody wants to hear songs about strip joints anymore. They want to hear true, deep, meaningful lyrics. So that was one of the things, aside from the guitar riffs and stuff. And all those singers were amazing. My
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember seeing you when you played in Buffalo, New York, when you were with Aldo Nova, and
Was that Sinbad?
yeah, I was yeah. You remember Sinbad's? Absolutely, yeah,
Sinbad, dude.
yeah,
Wow. It's
yeah.
funny that we both remember that.
Yeah. Did you spend a lot since you were in close to Toronto? Did you spend a lot of time in Buffalo during those years? Did you
I,
come over the border a lot
I
or?
did, but we didn't really play that much. It was great. Being in Toronto, um, I remember sneaking into the gasworks and seeing Talus
Oh yeah.
with Billy Sheehan
Yep.
pre-Eat 'em and Smile. That was mind blowing. Billy
Yeah.
Sheehan, he was like the king. And then when we found out he got the gig with no, I'm gonna preface him getting the Eat 'em and Smile band gig with I think when I saw the '82 when I saw the Diver Down tour.
And Talus open
And
for
when
Van
I
Halen.
played Gardens, we walked to Gasworks and Talus was playing.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a Van Halen after party.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one thing about living in Buffalo. I was very fortunate because I'm like pretty much the same age you are. I was able to watch Chalice, on Monday nights when they'd have like an all age show at Stage One on a Monday night and still sell it out. It was crazy. I mean, we thought they were going to be the biggest band in the world.
Where did Triumph play the Sporting Kings date in Buffalo? Was that the War Memorial?
That was the odd.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that show.
Oh, did you? That was with Yngwie Malmsteen, right?
And Van Halen opened up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that show.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
it is. Yeah. I kind of thought there might be something with, you living just
Well,
across the border.
yeah, always. Because I mean, we could. The beer was cheaper in Buffalo, but
Yeah.
people in Buffalo went to Toronto to drink because it was 19 drinking age. Dude, I gotta go. I know you
Yeah.
gotta
Oh,
go.
definitely.
But
Yeah.
thank you
So
so much, man.
you're welcome, Felix, and I hope that you come to Buffalo soon, one way or another. And I
Yeah,
can't. I would love to see the Drills. I mean, you guys like just fucking rock. So thank
I
you very much
appreciate
for your time.
it.
Yeah, no
Okay,
problem.
thank
All
you.
right, Phil. Take it
Have a
easy.
great day, buddy.
You
Thanks.
too. Bye bye.